But as indicated off the top of the show, there has been a dead period that has lasted for a long time. Cam told me 15 months before we started to record here, in terms of recruiting, official visits, young men being able to visit campus officially, paid visits in which they are able to tour facilities with officials that can explain things to them. We're talking official visits. A lot of visits have been done unofficially and financed by the individual and their family, in which they do not have necessary access to get that firsthand evaluation of the school, the program, the campus, and everything involved. So the dead period ending on May 31st, June 1st, campuses wide open and visits will officially take place.
Yeah, so it's going to have been a long time. So, 15, 16 months. And then honestly, like a lot of unofficial visits, they weren't taken. I mean, you changed the whole paradigm to virtual pretty much only. Because they're saying, no unofficials, no officials, things like that. So, you have a whole recruiting cycle that was conducted in a dead period. The 2021 cycle, those kids might have visited early, so before the cycle, before their senior cycle started. And we all know that recruiting is a multi-year process and everything for most elite kids. So that's where you build those relationships. But yeah, man, it was an interminably long dead period. So no on-campus officials, no real unofficials. You started seeing some guys sneaking out places where there's we wanted to go or drive there, or even some flu and everything like that. When COVID wasn't at the height of the pandemic, you started seeing some people venture out. But now, the NCAA has pushed the dead period out further and further, just because they weren't sure what they were going to do with it, or what they wanted to do based on, the CDC guidelines, or the actual, the positivity rate and the mortality rate. Unfortunately, that many people pass away from COVID in the United States. So just trying to curtail some of those things. So it was a little bit of trying to save face a little bit for them, just so they weren't saying, okay, we're having these kids travel places, because, there were a lot of places that had tier 1 travel advisories. If you went to some or tour through some places, you had to quarantine for multiple, 2 weeks. And things like that. So you're really just trying to not have people travel like that, so you weren't at the center of why, or the spread of this virus, or people having a negative situation in their health. But it seems that as we're getting things under control, it's still not all the way done. So still distance, wash your hands, wear a mask, all those things. But as it seems to be getting more back towards normal, the NCAA is finally opening things up, and this is for basketball, baseball, and football. Recruiting, I mean, men's and women's. So it's gonna be crazy. It's already, you're seeing what programs are doing to position themselves differently. Because it's like the Wild West. You're going back to how things were. So Miami is already talking about having a first day out picnic. Like you do if somebody comes home from jail or prison or something like that. But I'm saying, it's like, first day out, bro. We're gonna do this, So they're already sending things to some underclassmen for June 1st. Manny Diaz just tweeted out a calendar, a little calendar sticker, thing, a date sticker for June 1st. And he's tweeting something out. I'm sure that Miami's not the only program in America who's already, positioning, the first day out, or the return to normal, or back to Athens, or whatever it is, and that one I honestly just picked up off the top of my head. I have no idea what they're going to call it at Georgia, or LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Boise State. I don't know what everybody's going to call it, but everybody's going to have some themed thing, I'm sure of it, for June 1st, and it's going to be real interesting. So just following everything has been a little different, obviously, because people have been in the house. And you've had these virtual visits and things like that, but it's, you don't really traffic in. Nobody was really putting out that information from the program side, and the programs, they would leak it to whomever they would leak it to, and we would find out and we would put it out, whether it was, blogs or, other journalists in and around the industry. And some of the kids, they weren't really leaking things either. So like you just have things that are happening kind of, and it's hidden behind the shroud of virtuality. You know what I mean? But now you can really go back to, one of the recruiting rules, following those visits. Where did this kid go? You know what I mean? Somebody asked me recently, and it was kind of out of the blue. And I remember, obviously, because I've been doing this for a long time, like, hey, did Miami recruit Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner who went to Alabama? And was he supposed to take a visit? And I was like, okay, let me go back and dig up the archives of State of the U. And like, yes, we did. And he was supposed to be coming on a visit. And we sent somebody to his high school basketball game. And then, the reporter, the blogger who was there, the recruiting industry journalist, I forget exactly whom, was like, so are you taking other visits and everything? He was like, nah. He was like, wait, so you had this visit scheduled with Miami. Like, so it's Friday night, you had this game. Are you leaving tomorrow morning to go down to Coral Gables? Like, what's good with it? What's good? And he's like, no, I'm not taking any other visits. All of a sudden, which was Nick Saban coming in and blocking that last weekend visit, which is why, then coaches have tried to change the cycle of when Miami would get kids to visit, because you weren't trying to wait till that last week to have a team come in and block and things like that. So, but when you have something like that, you see clearly what's going on. Devontae Smith did not come on that visit. There was no chance. And I tweeted, I wrote it on the website, all those kind of things. Conversely, Jerry Jeudy took a secret visit, but it got out on Friday morning after Miami sent the limousine or the black town car or whatever to go pick him up from Deerfield to drive him down. And then it started getting out. And then somebody saw him on campus with the other recruits who were there for the visit. And everybody's like, yo, no, Jerry Jeudy, like 4 is on campus. Game on, because you've now gotten this guy there and all those kind of things. That's where the ethos of that one recruiting rule comes from. And you can really see who goes where and when. So if it's going to be an underclassman or an upperclassman, that June 1st day is going to be huge. Miami already has 3 weekends in June with official visits already. You got June 3rd through 6th. You got the 11th through the 14th, and I see the 18th through 21st. Like, yo, if we're back to business, we're back to business. Like, you see multiple guys who are coming on these visits. That June 11th weekend, you're going to have Ja'Cory Brown, your only commitment at this time, but you're going to have multiple other guys who are going to come visit with him for official visits. Jaden Gibson from Orange Park, a wide receiver. You got other wide receivers coming down. I forget all the names off the top of my head. Cameron Williams, great name, offensive lineman from Texas. He's coming out that same weekend. So look, you're already seeing, okay, we're stacking up. Who's coming when? Manny Diaz is already talking about hashtag Welcome to Paradise. That's the one that he put in his tweet. So what's up on Paradise Camp? Paradise Camp, one of the camps in America that has had the most talent at it. It's only been around since March in that form. But if you look at who's come through that camp, who has played or is playing college football, it's a who's who. It is the most talented camp that there is around. So now you're going to have that back, which Miami Hurricanes of years past, those greats of the program are coming back to coach. All these things. So, it's really exciting. And, I love recruiting. That's why I blog about it. That's what got me into blogging. I love that, interaction on the, NCAA video games and everything that I've always played through and things like that. But yeah, come June 1st, it's going to be a real change, and just in the short story long, we've all been on punishment inside, watching everybody outside and doing other things. And now we did our homework. We done caught up with our schoolwork. We've been good and respectful at Sunday school. So mom says we can go outside to play again. And but that's everybody at the same time. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait.
I'm going to rain on your party just slightly here.
Come on.
I'm going to bring one little aspect to this that I would think is pretty reasonable in concluding that this is a disadvantage or less of an advantage now that we're back to normal, or the assumption is we get back to normal. Okay, during this dead period, we all concluded that follow recruiting, and you so much more than I do, that for those areas of the country that boast the most talent, South Florida in particular, that it would be more likely that those student athletes would choose to stay close to home. Therefore, while the dead period was a disadvantage for everyone, the players still have to make a decision on where to go. So there are still schools being selected. So it's going to be more of a disadvantage for some rather than others. And I would think that Miami would have been one of those spots where it was the least disadvantaged during the dead period because the talent's in their backyard.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the recruiting class and everything, I think that it stands to reason. You know, most everybody was from South Florida or had been born here. Sorry, excuse me. So even if you look at guys like like a Deshaun Troutman, whose brother, you know, played at St. Thomas. He was at Miramar for a week. He was at other schools down here as well. Trinell Troutman, you know, he's a South Florida guy. You know, the family moved up to Orlando after the older brother went to college. Okay, cool. So then, you know, he comes around. Elijah Arroyo is from South Miami, the neighboring city to Coral Gables, right down 56th Ave, Miller Drive, going down west there. So he's a guy who's returned back and everything like that. So yeah, most everybody was from this area. So those two guys are transplants elsewhere, and then everybody else or a lot of everybody else from down here or living down here, like a Michael McLaughlin, who's from Indiana but moved down to Parkland and went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas for the last couple of years of his high school career. So yeah, I mean, there are always going to be there's guys around, you know, and it was a little easier and everything. But again, when you change everything and go virtual, we can be virtually connected just like you and I from Connecticut and South Florida. You could have this kind of connection in a recruiting realm. You could have this from, you know, Seattle or Southern California or Utah or Boise or wherever. So, conversely, it also shrinks the world, having everybody inside. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you're talking about guys staying where they're from largely, then who the guys in the recruiting class who then made decisions, then yeah, I'm sure that, you know, Miami was able to benefit maybe a little bit more than some others because of the talent that's around.